Welcome to this weekly, bi-weekly, monthly podcast that's unrehearsed, unscripted, uncensored, and somewhat unhinged as we talk about film photography, infrared photography, and maybe just some digital photography too. So let's get started. The big news this week was Kodak's announcement of Gold 200 being available in 120 form. Now that's pretty interesting because it's a consumer grade film and not necessarily one that pros would use, but I think what Kodak is trying to say is that, hey, pros, you don't have to use portrait. You can use, hey, the new 120 Gold 200. Why not? It's a terrific film. Probably cost a few bucks a roll less. After all, portrait has gone crazy through the ceiling price-wise in recent months and years, and so this gives people an alternative. I haven't tried Gold 200 in 120 because I have ongoing problems with my one camera, but I have shot it in 35 millimeter and it is fabulous. I was originally turned on to Kodak Gold 200 by Daniel, who operates a wonderful YouTube channel called The Big Negative. I'll put a link below so you can check it out. He's got a really interesting story about how he found someone who had Kodak Gold on sale. He went to the store and bought all of the film they had, and it was 58 rolls. But my experience with the film was wonderful, and I hope that if I can get my 120 situation sorted out, that I'll be able to use it. Now, in other film-related news, the Joe's Film Box will be starting in the first week of April. And what we're going to be doing there is basically be recommending 2 different rolls of film a month. I'll be purchasing the film, telling you where you can purchase the film, and I'll be shooting it and processing it, scanning it, and writing a blog post, maybe do a video. I'm not really sure how it's going to go right now, but I'll let you all know what the film that I recommended in the monthly Joe's Film Box was like. And it's nice. It's a subscription box that didn't cost any money. You don't have to subscribe. And it's totally free. You can't beat that. The other big news was from Flickr. And Flickr was like really one of the pioneers. And then Don McCaskill, a wonderful guy, the genius behind the Smug Mug photo sharing site, he bought Flickr and they've been making some changes. One of the things that photographers who work in, say, the fine art, glamour, it's hard for them to find a place to post their work because most social media is very timid about the kind of images that they will allow. Even myself, the images that I used to post when I was shooting glamour, I would always err on the side of being right on the edge of anything that the censors and the informal censors and the prudes who are on Instagram and other social media would find objectionable and complain about. So what he's done is created, they have 2 categories of images that were called moderate and restricted. Now the moderate and restricted images were blocked from the regular users, so it was probably a good idea. If any kids or young people are using Flickr, they don't want to be exposed to some images that might be offensive to them. But on the other hand, if you are interested in creating those kind of images, there has been no place like that since the late Dave Hall passed away. He had a wonderful site called Glamour Models, and it was a community of glamour photographers. It was just a wonderful, great place, but Dave passed away. He turned it over to someone to run, but I'm sure it's a challenge to run a site like that. Flickr is going to let you upload content that's under restricted or moderate categories for $8.25 a month or $72 a year. If you're creating those kind of images and you're looking for a home, because Flickr really is a really great community from what I understand, and way back in the day when I was always involved in it. So it's worth taking a look at. So let's take a look at the photo of the week. Photo of the week is a bit of a misnomer because it's going to be a section of the podcast we're talking about what have I been photographing lately. And the most recent thing I did was I took the Minolta Prod 20. This is a kind of a cult camera that they built back in the 80s. I think 1984 they made 20,000 of these cameras for the Japanese market only. And Mary was able to pick this up for me back in the day through a friend of hers who worked for Minolta. And it's basically a really nice point and shoot camera, but it has many nice features, but it also has some oddball features as well. You know, it's limited by the 35 millimeter, what is it, a f4.5 lens, so that's not too exciting. It loads backwards. You put the film in this side and bring it over here, close the back, it automatically winds up to the first frame. Because it does it so precisely, you're easily able to squeeze like 38 frames out, and I was able to do that. So I loaded it up with some film we're going to talk about next in the film of the week, and took it to the Cars and Coffee event and shot a bunch of different cars, and you'll be seeing them in a blog post on both the car site and on my main website. I'll drop a few in here as I'm blathering on, but the idea was basically to dust off all of the old cameras. This has been kind of an ongoing process with me. Dust off all the old cameras that I have and make sure they were old film cameras and make sure they still work. Now, it has a kind of Leica-ish quality about it, even to the point of the base plate comes off the bottom. Instead of loading the film through the base plate like Leica, like my M6 does, you put the battery in there. The battery is a big guy because the thing has motorized film advance and motorized film rewind. And the battery is 20 bucks at your local Batteries Plus. Anyway, it performed flawlessly. It's just a wonderful little camera. I don't know really what the heck I'm going to do with it, but that was my photo of the week, and I hope you enjoyed seeing a couple of them. If you want to see more, I'll put a link below, and you can check it out on my car site and also the first part of the story on my how-to blog. Much like photo of the week, the film of the week is the most recent roll of film that I've shot. In the case of the images that I made at the Cars and Coffee at the Vehicle Vault in Parker, Colorado, the film was Fuji Acros 100. It's a terrific black and white film. I really like the grainlessness of the film, the modest contrast. It works really good in a situation like at Cars and Coffee, which tends to be very, very contrasty light. But I have to admit that my experience with black and white films in this recent experiment with film photography has been kind of narrow. I've only shot 3 different kinds, but I really have enjoyed all the times I've shot with the Acros. And I have 2 rolls of expired film left. Let's see, this one was made in 2008, and I shoot it at box speed, and I find that the negatives look great. So Fuji decided to discontinue the film, but then pretty quickly they came across and came up with Acros 102. And I plan on shooting some of that as soon as I burn through this stuff. Now, admittedly, my use of black and white film has been narrow. I've only shot 3 different types of film since I started this recent experiment with 35mm film photography. But at the same time, the new Joe's Film Box, which I mentioned a little bit ago, the first month, no spoiler alert, is going to be with some off the beaten track kind of black and white film. So I'm really looking to expand my horizons. And if you're going to follow me and join into the whole Oprah's Book Club part of the Joe's Film Box, then I think it'll expand your horizons as well. In the meantime, if you're shooting black and white film, you really can't go wrong with Acros 100. Beautiful film. And so now we come to, what national day is it? And those of you who read my blog, and if you don't, you should, I'll put a link below that you can go to and see the kind of things. I like to play around with doing images and telling stories related to different national days. Usually they're obscure ones that most people don't know about or even sometimes care about. But there are a couple of them this month, or at least this part of the month. And for the one that really got my attention first was because I'm a big avid 3D photography fan. And I've written a couple of blog posts about it. You might want to check those out when you get a chance. National 3D Day was March 22nd. It's every year in March on the third day of the third week of the third month. Now 3D has kind of faded in popularity, and I don't even know if they're showing 3D movies anymore. 3D TVs, we used to have one, I loved it. It's kind of disappeared from the Best Buy shelf. So 3D is going through its boom and bust cycles, and right now it's in a bust. March 25th is National Tolkien Reading Day. Now, I've never read any books of Tolkien's. All the cool kids at school were reading Tolkien, and they were having intellectual discussions about it. I'm afraid I didn't join them. I was busy reading Isaac Asimov. What can I tell you? But March 27th, that's a big one. It's National Joe Day. No kidding. It encourages everybody to enjoy a cup of Joe with all your friends named Joe, Joey, Joseph, Josephine, Jody, Jolette, and for all your Dolly Parton fans, Jolene. Anyway, National Joe Day. Be sure to take a Joe out for some coffee. And now we come to the Q&A portion of the podcast. And the number one question I've got since I've gotten much more involved with YouTube is, why don't you allow comments? There's a whole bunch of reasons for that. And some of the things I'm involved with, I do allow comments. So we're going to go through them one at a time. Let's start with YouTube, since that's what we're on right now. YouTube comment sections are notorious for being not the nicest places. Many people who have YouTube channels don't even bother responding to comments. And one guy whose videos actually I like, he will only respond to questions from people who are paying members of his channel. So it's kind of hit and miss. The main reason I don't do it is time, because I have a lot of things I'm doing and I have to do everything, including all of this, by myself. Now, the other thing is the blog. I don't, either of the blogs, either the Joe Farace Shoots Cars or joefarace.com. For the same reason, it takes a lot of time. But in both cases, both the YouTube channel and on the blogs, there are places to click and send me an email. And I read everyone and I respond to everyone. So if you have a question, I'll answer it. If you just want to make a comment, well, I'm afraid those won't work. However, on my Instagram account, you can comment away. The same is true on Twitter. So if you're following me there, it's at Joe Farace on both of them, I think. You can leave all the comments you want about the images that I post. So it's kind of a mixed bag about comments, but basically it boils down to I'm a one-man band and I can only do so much. So finally, I'd like to ask you to please subscribe and leave a like if you can. I would really appreciate it, would really help out. And also, if you have any film or any items that could be used in making these videos and the other videos that you see on YouTube as well as on my blogs, there is an address below with our post office box, and you can send me stuff securely there. And if you do, I really would appreciate it. So thanks a lot for watching. I hope we can do this again next week, next month, next bi-weekly, or whatever it is. So long for now.